Hello, everyone. Before I started working at the job that I have now, I worked at the local NFL stadium. My position there was part of the game day staff. So I was literally the person who was like the ticket taker, the usher, the guest services person. I was literally the person that people came up to and interacted with if they couldn't find their seat or if they wanted to know where to buy crab fries, things like that. And overall, I'd say it was a pretty good job. It was exactly what I needed it to be at the time. But as you can imagine, working at an NFL stadium, there's a lot of people who work to make sure that the event goes off without a hitch. And in my personal department alone, the game day staff, there were 800 people. So, since it's a sports team, obviously we all had to wear uniforms, because there needed to be a collective visual cue so that way the fans could go like, hey, that's who I ask for questions. And when you got 800 people from all walks of life, the way that they make the uniform work is they choose something that will collectively look good on as many people as possible. So other than the uniform parts that they provided for us, everyone had to wear all black. So it was like black pants, black shoes, black socks, any cold weather gear like mittens and scarves and hats. If they didn't have the team logo on them, they had to be black. So when I had to buy pants for this, obviously the pants didn't fit quite the way I wanted them to, so I had to buy a belt. And when you use a black belt over and over again, eventually it's going to go bad, and so I ended up buying another belt. That was a knitting needle, I'm sorry about that. So this was the belt that I bought. And you can tell from the tag on it that I never actually used it. Because you can see the holes are that far to the end, are like that close to the end. And I had like that much space, and I'm skinnier than that, my dudes. So I thought I got a leather punch at home. I can punch it to the point where I want it to go to me, and then I can wear the belt. But I ultimately was too lazy and I never actually did it. So now I work at a job where I don't need to wear a black belt. I still have to wear a belt because since I lost 30 pounds in the past year, my summer clothes no longer fit me as well as they should. But it's also when I wear a belt, it doesn't necessarily have to be black, so I've just been wearing my Boy Scout belt for most of it. But if you look at the size of this belt, this is about the same size as a circular pair of knitting needles, like some of my larger circular pairs of knitting needles. And, well, you're watching this video, you know how this channel goes. Everything's a nail when you got a hammer, right? So we're going to try to knit with the belt. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off the tag, which, I spent over $30 on this belt, which, not super expensive, but not super cheap either. And wait, was this, before we go any further, it was a reversible belt, my dudes. Okay. Yeah. I got the yarn here. They're going to cast on. Will I be able to knit with this? Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure I can knit with this. Is it going to look good? That's the real question, isn't it? I got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I cast on the wrong end. Because this would be the end that'd be easier to get into the loop than the belt buckle. But much of my life has been me purposely taking the hard way out of things, so. Also, it took my parents 4 tries to get me. So clearly things don't happen on the first try with me, usually. Alright. So I guess we open this up and we try to make that work. Nice thing is that kind of like loops it. I was going to say this loops it so I can just pull it through the loop, but then I just pulled the other loop off of the thing. Okay. I'm not even sure that stitch even worked. Well, I was purling, right? Yeah, I was purling. We always have this effect when we try to purl. Okay. There we go. This is another case where, because I'm trying to do like something awkward, I'm being more of the tool than the tool actually is. Because what I'm doing with my fingers here, like forcing the loop to get open, that's something the knitting needle should be able to do by itself. And this belt buckle is acting more as a hindrance than a help at the moment. I just lost that stitch. Theoretically, I could put that stitch on, but I'm feeling too lazy right now. According to the schedule, I'm going to have to be a responsible adult tomorrow, so we're saving my responsibility inklings until then. Well, technically, I have to be a responsible adult every day that I'm at work. Let's be clear about that. But there are some days where I can get away being more irresponsible, more fun-loving than others. There we go. We still have the clicking noise of the needle. It's different than the typical knitting needle clickiness, but still there. Although the clicking sound happens more is more pronounced when you work with metal needles versus when you work with bamboo needles, although bamboo needles do click. Plastic needles, not so much. Oh, that looks terrible. So because I did the easy cast on, the easy cast on tends to get like it's easy to cast on, but the downside is the extra string makes the stitches further and further apart. And then you do like the very last stitch, which is just a slip knot, which is in the fixed part. So now I got like this huge gap right here. So a simple trick that I would do is I would often cast on more stitches than I needed, usually like one more. And then when it came to that last slip knot, I would just take it off. And then boom, we take it out. And then you just have a long yarn tail, which you now have to be careful that you don't accidentally knit the yarn tail and as the working yarn. But it makes it look nicer overall, you know. So that means instead of 10 stitches, we now have 8 stitches on the needle. Needle is being used very liberally here. But yeah, because I had that one stitch that fell off and then the one stitch that I deliberately pulled off. And I ended up purling that side. So now we're going to try knitting it. And because this is flat, I'm going to have to like insert the other end on the same side that I want to pull the yarn through, like I did when I was knitting with the popsicle sticks. So that means it's going to have to go on this side. It's more like backwards purling. Well, knitting is technically backwards purling, or purling is backwards knitting, but I think you get what I mean, right? I hope you get what I mean. I know a lot of this channel is just me spouting off gibberish. Oh, this is a little bit tight. Okay. I have no idea if I just took the loop off or if I actually made a stitch. I think I actually made a stitch. Okay. Because that is the working tail. And this is the tail that I'm working with. It is on the side that I want it to be. All right. Boop, 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 boop. Is this twisting on me? No, it's not twisting on me. Okay, I thought the belt was twisting on me there for a moment. Yeah, it really loose. It's really loose. In a way, starting with purl accidentally probably ended up serving me better. Because this feels like it'd be easier to purl it than it would be to knit it, because I can barely see like the needle going into the loop the way that it is. And also I had better control of the buckle when I was purling than when I was knitting. Ooh. Don't get caught in the hinge. There we go. Feels like the loops are getting progressively bigger the further I go down the row. Maybe the, maybe the early cast on effect is still going on with this too. Oh yeah, look at that big loop there. That did not end up well. Okay. Yeah. So you can see the one side ended up fine. The other side is a loose mess. Although this kind of happens with every knitting project, and the way you get rid of it is you do it like super tight with the next stitch, so it kind of forces the loop to go up, and like it takes up all that extra thing. Although you could also avoid the effect by salvaging the edge, which ends up looking nicer too, and gives you an easier like way to line it up if you're going to sew it together. But obviously I'm not going to sew this to anything, so I wasn't going to even bother. But yeah, that was today's entertainment. We can say that if you're going to knit with a belt, it'd be better if you took the belt buckle off first before you actually attempted to knit with it. But still, once again, it's better to have round knitting needles than flat ones. Have a good day.